message on my.
Hello, everyone. We've made it to Friday, and that's my baseline. It is Friday, March 27th. We are all virtual, and you are here for a Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Meeting is now called to order. Our roll call is everyone is here. Thank you so much. Next is item 3. I'm looking for approval of the Budget and Finance Committee meeting minutes for February 27th, 2026.
I move that we approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Angela, a second from Eileen. Any discussion? Seeing no facial expressions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approval of minutes have passed. Thank you so much. Employee benefits policy update. Michelle, you have the floor.
Good morning. Did you want me to pull up the document that I have that is in your packet?
Eileen, Kelly, Angela?
Yes. Okay. Okay, are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm here this morning to talk about an employee benefits policy update. What I'm asking the council to do is to place this on the consent agenda at an upcoming council meeting. So a little bit of background on this policy update is, Washington cities are increasingly competing for talent and retaining quality employees. It's showing when I've done comparables that we are slightly below our comparables in 3 primary benefit areas that really, long-term affect recruitment and retention. And that's vacation accrual schedules, the number of fixed holidays we have, and the number of floating holidays and other things offered as benefits. And I'm speaking particularly just for the non-represented employees here. These are governed by collective bargaining agreements for the unions that the city has. So Tumwater currently provides 11 paid holidays, which are the standard 11 generally within the state of Washington, 1 floating holiday, and a vacation accrual beginning at 8 hours per month, which really places the city of Tumwater lower than the baseline of the more competitive peer offerings that we're seeing. Our comparable jurisdictions, those are determined by the AWC city comparison tool. If anyone is ever interested in seeing that, please let me know. But what that comparison tool does is it helps us find cities that are most like Tumwater. It compares different things like population, economic, housing tax data, sales tax data, and pulls all of that together and gives us comparable cities. So you'll see our comparable jurisdictions used in this study were Battle Ground, Arlington, Bonney Lake, Bremerton, Covington, Longview, Maple Valley, Monroe, Mount Vernon, Oak Harbor, Port Angeles, and Port Orchard. We also look at our backyard comparables of Olympia, Lacey, and I always pull Thurston County as well because they are direct competitors for talent for us. So what we'd like to do is look at increasing the benefits related to these different things. Increasing the vacation accrual schedule, increasing our floating holiday schedule. Let's scroll here. Implementing 12 fixed holidays instead of 11, and providing 1 day of community service leave. Community service leave is something that I've seen offered across different states. There is 1 city that currently offers community service leave in our comparable list, and that's Maple Valley. They actually offer 8 hours of community service leave and 8 hours of wellness leave. So what community service leave is intended to do is allow employees to volunteer with local nonprofits and schools. And again, that reflects the city's values and its commitment to civic responsibility, public service, community partnerships, and things of that sort. And I think that also increases employee pride in what they're doing on a daily basis and being able to volunteer and having the city support that. So those are the 4 core areas that we are looking at improving. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes,
Okay.
I have a question. And Michelle, I'm glad that you are briefing today because this came to me yesterday. And I wanted to discuss benefits and a compensation issue as it relates to child care. And Mayor, I know this is one of your priorities. Child care is expensive. And is there any discussion so far about how we are going to assist with childcare expenses?
I know that's something that has been discussed. We currently do not have an infants at work program because we just don't have the space and the facility to be able to do that.
Okay, so you're talking
unfo-
about having a space specifically to take care of the children.
Mhm.
What I'm thinking about is a specific benefits and compensation package, which is going to affect our budget. So this came about because I was at a board meeting and we have an employee who's wondering, how am I going to afford daycare for my kids? It's probably around $2,000. So she's wondering, childcare is expensive, gas prices are going up. Basically, how can we help? So did some research, and you know how we have health spending accounts.
Yeah.
Um, so we thought about, what about a CCSA, child care savings account, which can work the same as a healthcare savings account.
Yeah.
This would be gender neutral. We can cover 2,000, 3,000, whatever amount that we decide on. So we can help with childcare because I know I've had this issue in the past. Where are the kids going to go for the summer? And things are just expensive. So, can I get some feedback on that? What might that look like for our city? Can we combine that with this, fellow councilman?
I do believe that's definitely worth exploring. Right now, the only thing that we do offer as a benefit for childcare is a dependent care account, which is a tax-free account that employees can utilize to have money taken out of their check and put in a tax-free account to then utilize for childcare. All of those monies are directly provided by the employee, but they're also tax-free.
Right. So what might it look like if we have a matching up to a certain amount? Could be $200 a month. So if we can explore that, I think it's time.
I
Fellow
think that is
council members?
definitely working.
Thank you, Angela. Eileen, and then Paul has his hand up after Eileen.
Let's see. So I've made some notes. As far as I would be interested perhaps in putting this on consideration just to let the other council members know the good work that we're doing in Tumwater as far as our employees go. And then I was wondering, as far as the accrual compares on vacation days to how it compares to the state. And then I was interested in how our use or lose are, because are people using their leave, and just trying to encourage people to use their leave rather than, because I understand having to, the part about losing it is kind of like a stick, but we want people to use their leave rather than, if we're going to do this, we're going to expand the benefit for them to earn more leave, but we do want them to have that balance and actually be able to use their leave throughout the year. So I was curious about that. I really appreciate the idea of a service day because a lot of businesses do that, and it's kind of ironic that if you want to do a service day, that you have to take like a personal leave or something. And here we are we're public service. We do public service as our own selves. And so I like that idea. I really appreciate the idea that you're doing Christmas Eve and putting the 2 days together. There was nothing worse. I worked for the Department of Health, and I'll never forget the director going through and wishing us all happy Christmas Eve, and we were sitting there until 5:30 that night working, and it was very deflating. So it's nice that you can have that day off. So
Eileen,
yeah.
one thing, so Michelle has up our comparables of municipalities. You're saying you also want to see state agencies on top of our comparables?
No, I was just curious how the accrual, how we compare with the accrual of vacation days. So
Yeah.
Are you asking for that to be presented to council?
no, I was just throwing that out. Was wondering how, because ours seems behind, as far as how many years you work, and then the accrual part goes. So
Yes, we are currently behind the state schedule.
Right.
Generally, we don't use that as a comparable because it's a different entity completely, but
okay, because it seems, yeah, just it's the number of us that worked in the state, and so just curious how that compares. So, and then I did see there was an email from the AWC that they're doing the salary thing again. If we participate in that, so I saw that had come out. So, but no, I like the overall plan that you have here, and that would like to see if we could perhaps put it on consideration. So, just to share with our other council members.
I agree.
Okay, then we have Paul, then we have Kelly. Can't hear you. I don't know who you're talking to, Paul, but I can hear you through the wall, but I can't hear you on the screen. But you want me to wait, say it again.
I was going to defer to Councilmember Von Holtz. I was just going to respond to Councilmember Jefferson's comments about childcare, but I can wait till after Councilmember Von Holtz too.
No, Kelly is muted. This is amazing. Look, I'm reading everyone's
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, City Administrator. When my kids are all grown now, but when they were little, I worked to pay childcare and to have health insurance. So I so appreciate Councilmember Jefferson bringing that issue to the forefront. The thing that I didn't think about as when I was a young mother, though, was equity and looking through things with an equity lens. So if we offer something like that to employees with children, then that's not equal to employees who do not have children. And so I think other agencies, not necessarily city, but public agencies for sure, have looked at that and had an offering of an amount that goes to everybody, and it can be for health or childcare, like a number of different things. So just throwing that out there. And I was also wondering about how we compare to the leave accrual with state government. I know it's different, but it is the same because the state is in our backyard, and so I do see where there might be the opportunity for an employee, a possible potential employee, to weigh, well, I get more leave with the state, even though this job with the city of Tumwater is everything I dreamt about. So just I was wondering that as well. I don't need to see it. I can look it up. So, but I was wondering the same thing.
Before we go to Paul, Angela, do you want to reply to Kelly?
Yes, I was also thinking because pets are a part of people's families these days, and pets also go to services where they're watched, throughout the day, so that CCSA can be used for pets. So I definitely agree with you, Councilmember Kelly, on that part. It has to be equitable, and what does that look like for everybody? And it has to be gender neutral for those dads and moms, and up to a certain age. But I would just like more to follow on that.
Yeah, I love that, Angela and Eileen and Kelly. Great comments, right? It's been an ongoing conversation. When I say ongoing, I started January 1. With Michelle of how do we attract, retain, and have that quality of life in Tumwater when we necessarily can't compete with pay, right? Because of the size of our municipality, the size of our budget. What's that work-life juggling look like? And so conversations have been pet-friendly city, child-friendly city, right? And that's why the conversation is the spacing, right? Because I want to look for that. Or what does subsidizing look like? What does that credit discount look like? Not just for caregiving of youth, but caregiving of elders, right? What would that look like? So that's why we're starting this conversation about not just meeting today's needs, but our future needs. And we can't do what we want to do in the current environment that we're in. So this is why we're starting this conversation. So these are all great points for Michelle to track.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good starting point to start with being able to attract and retain employees. It's just working on these few things, very indirect budget considerations. It mostly is operational impacts, scheduling and things like that it would directly affect. So.
So Michelle, do you have what you need to present on considerations, knowing that you're probably going to get another question regarding state accrual compared to our jurisdiction?
Yes, I definitely do. And can have a PowerPoint presentation ready for to be on considerations at a full council meeting. Paul, did you have questions or comments?
No, I was just gonna say, really appreciate the comments around childcare, and also I was gonna say what Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Von Holtz said about the equity piece of it. That being said, I think there are some things that we could probably huddle up and look at, and perhaps bring something back later this year to council about some different options. I know my wife works for the state, and so we had special access to the Capitol Campus Child Care Center up by Garfield Elementary, the 5Cs. But that was because she was an employee. And so, are those the sort of arrangements where as a city we could help create opportunities for our employees to have better access to childcare? I look at, and then we also have our day camps and our after school programs. Well, we don't have after school programs, the YMCA runs those, but taking a look and maybe doing like a holistic inventory of what are all the availability. I see this being a little bit of parks, a little bit of HR, and also a little bit of economic development as well, because it's not just an issue for city employees, it's an issue for our entire community. And so, to the extent we can look at it from a benefits perspective, but if we can also look at it as a critical need and a quality of life issue for our community, I think spending some time digging into childcare is a good use of time. Just wanted to say.
Nice, Paul. Good one. Eileen.
I remember one committee I served on that isn't functioning now, but it was the Tumwater United for Families, and that we would, before the end of the year, we had together and we had the Y and the different groups, and we would talk about, they put together a whole resources of what camps were available across the feeding sites and different places that were available to families. And so that was something that we used to promote. And then the only other comment, when Councilmember Jefferson was talking about, when I was working at DOH, they had just initiated the where you could bring your babies to work. And so up to 6 months, which was really interesting from my mom's perspective, because the babies would be on the floor and it'd be like, anyway, on a blanket. But it really was cool in a way, to have babies there. And because there were about like 4 babies when I was working there. So it was just a different thing, for us, and just changing your perspective on, how it worked for, and it was men and women. So there was a guy that brought his baby, there are a couple of men that brought their babies to work. So just an interesting, another thing to look at as far as being able to accommodate a different way for childcare. So I just want to throw that out there as well.
Yeah, and there are
Thank
other
you.
cities, I'm sorry, Mayor Delhall, there are other
Don't
cities
apologize.
that do offer, the Infants at Work program, some up to toddler level, but you need the space to be able to do that and not disturb other employees working, or have safe spaces for them to be.
Thank you, Michelle. So it's on our list. Yeah. Kelly.
I'm just gonna brag for a second because the office I worked at in the Department of Health actually had the very first pilot office baby. But my daughter, when she was born, Secretary Mary Selecki at the time let me bring her to work several times, and it made all the difference in the world. So it isn't, but you do need to have quiet spaces and play, place, places to nurse, all of those things, if you implement a program like that. But it is a wonderful option.
Thank you, Kelly. And I feel like when we do bragging moments, we should like make a donation to like a nonprofit. So Kelly will start that trend of donating to whatever nonprofit she wants, like the Bucks, right? You do that at Rotary or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Hey.
donate to a nonprofit that has to do with daycare.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anything else for Michelle for her to present to council? Good. Everyone's good? I see everyone's good. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate you. Now we're on to Troy and Penguins and budget.
I apologize for interrupting, but if you'd like to move this forward with a recommendation, a motion would be advised.
It's always Karen telling me what to do, which I appreciate. I would entertain, well, can we? Yeah, thank you. I needed to read that. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I would like to make a motion to place the employee benefit policy update on the April 21st City Council consideration calendar with a recommendation to approve and adopt the policy updates.
And
I'll
I second.
second. Oh,
We got a first, we
I'm-
got a second, we got a third.
Kelly's got
I'm
it.
going to raise my hand here to interrupt, but Paul, Kelly, and I are out of the office that week. Is it possible to
Oh.
move that to the first meeting in May?
So we'll amend the motion to reflect the first meeting in May, which will be May 5th.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Oh.
I thought Kelly was actually going to be here on the 21st now.
Yes, that's late breaking. So not everyone is aware of that, but Michelle being on point for this one, I think it would still be good to have that be the first meeting in May. And I think the proposal is to have it take effect June 1st. So this having it go from April 21st to May 5th won't change implementation at all.
Okay, so friendly amendment from Eileen. I have a motion to place the employee benefit policy update on the May 5th City Council consideration calendar with a recommendation to approve and adopt the policy updates. And then I got a second from Kelly and I got a third from Angela. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
I
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you. And thank you, Karen, for reminding me that you needed a motion. I just wanted Michelle on video one more time, and then now she can go up video. Now it's Troy's show. Troy, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much. All right, and here we go. So, welcome to the monthly budget update. We've been talking about budget a lot lately, and all good stuff. So let's jump right in and talk about sales tax. So, the meeting last month, we kind of did a wrap up of 2025. So now we're looking at data for 2026. And so you can see here we've got January and February. I was really hoping that earlier this week the state data for sales tax and some of our other revenues would come in. It did not. It'll probably show up around 4 o'clock today, right? Shortly after this meeting is over. So anyway, January, you can see kind of towards the right-hand side, we had not a great month for sales tax collections compared to the prior January. But then February, we had a pretty good month. So they almost offset. We're just a little bit below year to date compared to last year. And then some additional observations as we look at this. So that low January number kind of caused me to say, well, how is that in comparison to several Januaries? And it turns out from 2023 to current, that's the lowest January in the last 4 years. So not great. And then the January 2026 compared to all months for the last 38 months is the fifth lowest. So also not great. But then on the positive side, February is the highest February in 4 years and the sixth highest month in out of all months in the last 38 months. So I guess the word of the day is kind of volatility. We saw a lot of volatility in sales tax last year when we had some big ups and some big downs. And it's a little surprising that we're seeing it this early in the year, but just January and February, right there's some volatility going on already. But the good news, again, we're only $4,000 behind last year, so not too bad. Next, going to public safety sales tax. That one actually had increases both months. And I love doing these presentations for you all. And part of the reason I love it is it makes me say, well, wait a minute. Regular sales tax has an up and a down, and this has two positive months. So why is that? So I dug into the public safety sales tax a bit. And some of this you know, some of it you may not. So the Prop 1 public safety sales tax was levied by Thurston County after being passed by a vote of the people. And it's 0.2% or 2 cents for every $10 spent. The part that people may not know as much is that Thurston County keeps 60% of the tax, and the other 40% is split among the cities based on population. So that gives us about to share about 8/10 of a percent, 8/10 of, well, 8/10 of a percent, 8/10 of a cent. And so it is calculated different than the regular sales tax that we get because we're not getting the whole thing, we're getting a portion, and I don't know if they're calculating monthly based on population or how often they update that. But anyway, so it is different. That was just kind of interesting. And then looking through the resolution that Thurston County passed, as well as the state law for this, a third of that of this particular tax has to be used for criminal justice, fire protection, or both. The rest, it appears, is unrestricted. However, we've been treating the whole amount like it is restricted. And I recommend we continue doing that just to be on the safe side. And the fact that police and fire take up half of the general fund budget anyway, if we didn't treat it all as restricted, it would end up going to police and fire anyway. So it's a good funding source to help pay for those essential services. Okay. So as I'm comparing those sales tax, another revenue stream we have is the Transportation Benefit District, which is also sales tax. And so on this one, those percentage changes on the far right match exactly with the regular sales tax, as I would expect. So that one made really good sense. B&O tax is is actually just opposite of sales tax. It had a little bit of an increase in January, but a decrease in February, and is about $1,100 behind for the year. I will add also, so I mentioned that we haven't got all of the sales tax, or we haven't got any sales tax for March yet. The B&O tax is about about 2/3 of the way through March. So I ran these reports March 21st. To start preparing for this presentation, and B&O tax doesn't come through the state, so that kind of trickles in all the time for us. So just a note on that. Lodging tax. This one was a little bit of a surprise. We had a super strong year for lodging tax in 2025. I don't remember, about a 27% increase, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head. January had a little bit of an increase, a good strong percentage increase, but a small dollar amount. And then February had a big decrease. So we're about 5,000 behind for the year on lodging tax. It's early in the year. I'm not too concerned about it. It's a pretty small revenue stream for us. But it was just a surprise coming off such a strong 2025 to see 2026 starting in the hole a little bit. Okay, now looking at general fund revenues on the budget to actual basis instead of month to month. Now, when we met earlier this week and talked about the financial forecast, I talked about lowering the some of the budget, general fund budget revenues and raising some in this column here. I haven't done that yet because I feel like we should actually approve that in a budget amendment before I go and start changing numbers that I'm presenting to you. So using the original budget numbers. And so property tax, as a reminder, we collect most of that in two big chunks. Usually comes to us in May and November. And so the property tax is going to look like it's way behind until we get to May and we get that big chunk from the county. And then it'll look pretty good for a couple of months and start dwindling again. So just keep that in mind. So it looks like a big decrease here, but it's really not. Sales tax on the budget to actual basis is a little less than 2% behind if we're talking 16.67% or 2 months through the year. So not too far behind on the budget to actual so far. B&O tax, even though it was behind a little bit on dollars, it's actually quite a bit above in budget. But again, that's also does include some of March. So that's part of that. Utility tax is doing well. Building permits running a little behind. And actually, I asked Brad about that, and he does not expect 2026 to be as strong as 2025, but you'll probably recall that 2025 was kind of off the charts too in revenue numbers for building permits. Everything else looking okay on this page. We've got grants and transfers, things like that. The one I wanted to point out here is the SRO/CJ line over here. So that's SRO, as you know, stands for School Resource Officer. Oh, yes, Councilmember Van Holtz.
I'll let you finish this slide and I just have a question.
Okay.
After you're finished. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. So SRO stands for the School Resource Officer. I have /CJ, that's called CJ Special Programs. It's a reimbursement for some of the police equipment we buy, like bulletproof vests. I grouped those together because they're neither of them are too big, and we actually have zero school resource officer money revenue yet because we only bill quarterly. So we haven't sent the school district their first bill. So I wanted to point that out. And as we know, with the staffing shortages in police, as long as we have the vacancy in the one school resource officer position, our revenue reimbursement from the school district will be half of what we had planned. So just wanted to make everyone aware of that. Of course, when that position gets filled, that'll go back to normal. So that one throughout the year as we go through these will be one area where revenue is lacking, but the expense is also lacking as well. And that's all I had. And I was going to point out, Parks looks really low on the percentage, but it's kind of like property tax. Parks does most of its work in the summer, so I don't expect them to have a lot of revenue yet. And I'm ready for your question, Councilman.
I maybe answered it myself. I was wondering about the legislation that just passed, but it looks like that's for property taxes for 2027, where it expands discounts to seniors and people who have disabilities. And so, but I'm reading here that it's effective for the 2027 tax year. So I guess we won't know yet, but.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. I wasn't aware of that. Something we'll need to keep in mind to see if it has an impact on us or not. Okay. All right, looking at general fund expenditures year to date. So typically when I've given these presentations, most general fund departments have been running behind. We had a little bit of a surprise here. So general government, as a reminder, is every other department that's not listed. It's specifically on this page. It includes finance, legal, human resources, executive, legislative, and kind of the support departments. And so we're showing 20% spent and only 16% through the year, or through the year, which is a little high. So I looked into that, and we've got a couple things going on. Oh, and also police. Even though the police percentage looks good, knowing that we've got several vacancies in the police department, I would expect that number to be down. They're spending less because they have less people, and people are a humongous part of our budget. And so I looked into both of those. And for both of those, we had some contract payouts early in the year. And then on the police side, they made the payment for body worn cameras in February, which is quite a large payment that comes out in 1 month early in the year. So it kind of throws the numbers off and percentages off a little bit. And then on the general government side, we had to pay our liability insurance in January. And so that's over $700,000 that we paid in 1 month. That's throwing those numbers off. So everything else is looking pretty good. And as we get more months under our belt, those percentages will normalize. Yes, Councilmember Swetha.
On the body worn cameras, do we use any of the money from the public safety tax on that one, or can we use that? I didn't know. We probably already had this discussion, and I'm not remembering, but just wanted to ask.
Oh, that's a great question. So that does work in kind of a funny way. Not, I mean, for finance, it's just normal, but for everyone else, it might seem different. So that's a very good question. What we do is we spend the money out of the general fund first, and then either at the end of the year or sometime during the year, we'll transfer money from the public safety sales tax fund to reimburse the general fund. And so yes, it will, the body worn cameras will be paid using the public safety sales tax. Okay. All right, moving on to our enterprise funds. So this is similar to what you've seen before. I'll go through the utilities and golf, and the numbers up at the top are the full budget, including all the capital projects, bond financing, and things like that. And then the numbers down below where it says water without capital, or well, waters without cap, it stands for capital, and it's taking out those big capital expenditures to kind of normalize it and focus in more on the operations of the utility. And similar to a lot of our tax revenue, the utility revenue also kind of lags behind a little bit because it's, if you use water in December, we bill you in January and you're paying for it in February, in essence. So kind of a lag time similar to a sales tax. And so those revenues running behind is not a surprise. So knowing that the water revenue is looking okay, the expense side is under budget, and the expense side on this does keep up pretty well because it's real-time data, so no delays in those. Similar thing with sewer. Revenues and expenses are looking just fine for where we're at in the year. Same with stormwater. They're all kind of tracking pretty evenly, so looking pretty good and no concerns. And then golf, their revenue on the percentage basis is a little bit behind where you might expect it, but it's also looking at January and February, which are some of the slowest months for golf. And so by the end of March, with this nice weather that we're having right now, they could end up catching up. Which would be amazing. But even if they don't, the good months are coming, just kind of like the other parts. Okay, and then since we've been talking a lot about budget and all the other things that we normally talk about, like risks and GDP and all these kind of things, we're getting ready to start the new budget for 2027 and 2028. So exciting times. And I wanted to share a few things with you about that. We're going to make So not only are we going to have a budget update like we're doing today as part of your Budget and Finance Committee meetings, we're also going to have a standing item to update you on where we're at in the budget process in developing the new budget. So for future Budget and Finance Committee meetings, you'll have a separate staff report for that. And probably a separate I don't know if it'll be a PowerPoint presentation or a conversation, but we will be talking about it one way or the other. we've already started the budget process by updating that financial forecast that was presented to you this week. And then the clerks and Brittany have been awesome, already jumping on with getting the council meeting calendar updated with future meetings to council. We're getting meetings scheduled with directors already, and we'll kind of go through what the budget calendar looks like here. So this is basically a spreadsheet that we kind of made into a calendar. And so under this pre-planning portion of it, you can see at the bottom, I called it revenue forecast, but that's the financial forecast that you received on Tuesday. So that part's done. We're working on some of the other things. We'll be working on salary and benefit estimates. We'll have a retreat scheduled for the management team. And it won't be all about budget, but I'm sure budget will be a piece of it at least. Kind of going into I call it planning and design. This came from kind of a project management format, but we're working on a form for directors to fill out. We've already finalized the ER&R rates, which is the rental rates for equipment and vehicles. Working on those forms for departments. As we kind of move into summer, we'll be, as I mentioned, the second line down here, we've got meetings scheduled with directors in May. So that's where directors will present any budget enhancements that they want for the next biennium. It'll be actually me, Paul, Michelle, Carlos, and Nisa meeting with department directors to hear their asks and ask questions, and then as we move along to over here, kind of in July, we'll have Paul and Leah will go through and make decisions, probably a lot of tough decisions on what we can approve and what we can't, and come up with a balanced budget. And then from there, Leah will work with communications on the mayor's message that goes with the draft budget. And our hope here at the bottom is to have the budget released to you by the end of August. So that is our plan. And then we'll jump right into budget workshops starting in September. We've got 4 on the calendar. We'll do 3 for sure. We typically schedule a 4th in case we need it. And we'll kind of play that by ear. But it'll be on the calendar if needed. So we'll see how everything goes. And then we have a cutoff date of the end of October for no more changes so that we can finalize everything and get it ready for the public hearings. And then in November, we'll have 2 public hearings. We'll also have the TMPD budget and a TMPD meeting, our annual one. That's when we'll also do the property tax. We'll be able to adopt the budget if it goes well and if everybody's comfortable. We can adopt it as early as November 17th after the second public hearing. Or if people need a little bit more time, that's okay too, and we can adopt it on December 1st. So that is what I have for this presentation. The Penguins waited till the end today, but I will stop sharing in case there are any questions.
Any additional questions, concerns, compliments for Troy? Kelly.
So many compliments for Troy. Thank you for you make me feel like, oh, this budget stuff, I got it. So I really appreciate how you make it so digestible. So thank you very much. And thank you for the Penguin.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I have a compliment. I just feel like, just like the other night, just feeling so engaged in the process. And I really appreciate that. And that's not just the 3 of us, it's just everybody on council. I think it's just really engaged. So just really, really appreciate this very much. Thank you, Paul. You too.
Well, thank you. And I'd like to give the same compliment back to all of you and to the whole council, really. It's nice having everybody engaged and looking in their budget books. And, I can tell that everybody's interested and invested, and that's really great.
Thank you. Angela, you have the space for the last comment. Take us home.
My comment is just for my knowledge, Troy, and this can come at a later date, because when I read about fraud and a couple million missing, what checks and balances and procedures do we have in place? How do we determine fraud? And are there lessons learned from some incidents that we've had previously? So just for example, managers approve up to a certain amount and then it goes to the next level review. So just my knowledge on how things work at the city level.
Okay.
That will be helpful to know.
Yeah. You want to do like a work session, Angela, on that? Like weaving it all together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I
some
like
of
that.
us participate in those auditor things at the end, and it's hard to know because we're not involved in that. So,
Right.
Mhm.
and then just to blur it out again, it's just that whole thing with Tenino using unrestricted funds is like,
Mhm.
what? How did that happen? So, anyway, so
We don't
yeah.
judge other jurisdictions.
I know.
Tenino's
I was
sister
just a
city.
surprise. I know. It was just a surprise. It was just like, how does that?
Remember these
Yeah.
meetings are recorded.
I know. I know. It was just like, again, a question. How does
Mhm.
that happen? So
Mhm.
I'm following up on Angela's question. So yeah, as a council member, how does that happen?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
I'd
not
be happy to
water, I'll tell you
bring
that.
that
Yes. Thank you. Just curious.
Thank
Help
you.
us be.
We're gonna
Okay.
anything else regarding Tumwater?
Can I give an attaboy to, I just opened my water bill and there's a future restoration plans for Percival Creek and the project giving a heads up on what we'll be doing with Sap Road and the salmon restoration project. And it's amazing. And there's a QR code about the construction plans. So thank you for including that in my water bill. And I'm very excited about that.
Anything
So-
regarding budget and finance in Tumwater in this meeting?
It is finance related. It's my water bill. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Anything else? Thank you, Eileen, as always. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Troy, Paul, Michelle, Charlene, Karen. Meeting adjourned 12:47. Thank you so much. End this up.